There we go. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Rant with me, Pugs Moran, every Monday through Friday, round about this time. You got to like, you got to follow, you got to subscribe. That's how you get the alerts. What is the Rant? Well, every day, as I say, around about this time, for the past 3 years now. Yeah, this isn't something we just started that it's going to end in a couple of days. No, we've been doing this for 3 years, every day, Monday through Friday. And when I say we, I mean myself and my myriad of schizophrenic voices that I hear. No, I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not. I'm mentally aware. Are you mentally ill? No, I'm not mentally ill. I'm hyper mentally aware. I'm aware. I'm aware of my situation. Anyway, every day we talk about the current events, but I perform this feat utilizing something called a stream of consciousness. What is that? Well, it's already started. We're in the middle of it. Not the middle. We're actually kind of like at the beginning. That's an example of a stream of consciousness. It's where you just start talking. And whatever is next popping into your head, you just say it. No governor, no filter, no nothing. However, we do have some parameters. We like to keep it inside the genre of current events talk. So that is all that I will be thinking about and streaming about for the next 2 hours. This rant is performed in 4 categories, 4 quarters, we call them. The first one, antecedently on this day. That's where I go through history, not like live. I mean, I've already done this. I've curated some things for you. I go through history and I cherry pick the things that I think I can rant on. Things, shit I don't know dick about. Seriously, a lot of it's just shit I don't know dick about. But sometimes not knowing dick about something from history, it fuels the rant. And that's what this is about. Quarter 2 is birthdays. You know what that is. Quarter 3 is deads, people who died. We open up the books of their life. We say, what do we know about these guys? What do we know about this girl? What do we know? They died on this day. Heaven or hell. That's what that's about. Quarter 3 is about having a little fun, taking a look at someone's life and either condemning them to the hellfires of eternal damnation or elevating them to nirvana, heaven, whatever you want to call it. That's quarter 3. Quarter 4 is the hot topics and current events. It's everything that's trending. It's all the big news stories. It's whatever's happening right now. This is a full service look at today. The show, however, I said we do it for 3 years now. The show runs on your gratuities and your tips. So treat me like I'm your bartender, your pizza delivery guy, whatever. You're hanging out, you're passing by, you enjoy a little something, drop a little something in the tip jar. Every day, the person who tips the most on the previous day's show is awarded the title of executive producer. Today's executive producer is not really. Not really. So because of that, what we're going to do is we're going to make Peter the executive producer for the second day in a row because Peter was a good tipper. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you. This show produced by Peter. There you go. It's official. You want to be tomorrow's executive producer Friday? It's going to be the post-debate wrap-up show. You can drop something in there. Go ahead. What else do I need to tell you? Small talk segment. This is the small talk segment. Debate. We're going to talk about the debate. We'll get to that. That's in the trending topics, of course. Still don't think he's gonna show. Doo-da, doo-da. Still don't think he's gonna show. I don't. That could break while we're streaming. And when it does, who told you first? So there's that. What else? There was something else I wanted to mention. I don't know. Anyway, let's just get into it, shall we? Okay, let's get rolling. I'm sure it'll pop back into my head. This is the Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 27th day of June, year of our Lord, 2024. Did you know? June 27th. What is it? 179th day of the year. That's right. That means there are only 187 days remaining. So get those New Year's Eve plans started. Quarter 1, ladies and gentlemen, antecedently on this day. It's this day in history. Just antecedently is a fancy word. Everybody does this day in history. Antecedently on this day in 1844, Joseph Smith, founder of the Latter-day Saints movement, and his brother Hiram Smith are killed by a mob at the Carthage, Illinois jail. The Mormons, right? That's what they are. What are they? Church of Latter-day Saints? Are they more? They're all the same thing, right? Okay. What do I know? I'm Catholic. I just know that Mormon women are exceptionally beautiful. Is that only me? Am I the only one who has kind of realized that, or at least the famous ones? Well, then again, I guess the most beautiful are the more likely to become famous from any ethnic group or any religious group, I suppose. But whatever. I don't know. Yeah, this is a long way of me saying I am still hot for Marie Osmond. Oh, she's still hot. She's still hot. She's Mormon. Anyway, Joe Smith, right? So he's the big kahuna. Remember the other day we were talking about Mormonism because we were talking about in Missouri. It was the anniversary of Missouri. An entire state was just so fed up with the Mormons. I told you, what are the Mormons? The Mormons are like modern, not modern, but they're like the Jews. They're like the Jews of the Midwest. Nobody wanted the Mormons. The Mormons and John Smith and his group of whatever. By the way, did you know John Smith was a politician? Yeah. He was running for president at the time he died. Like now. Like this is the time he died. Here's his deal. So the other day we were telling you about how they were kicked out of Missouri. That's right. The governor of Missouri said any Mormon that's in Missouri it's legal to kill him. Yeah, a United States governor said that. Like not all that long ago either. It was like 1830 or something, but whatever. So that was Missouri. So they were all pushed out of Missouri, and many of them ended up in Illinois. There's a lot of like historic Mormon sites in Illinois, and most notably this one. John Smith, when people were pushed out of Missouri, set up this like whole town there in Illinois, and he ran it. He was like the mayor of the town, and a newspaper that was started by a rival faction of Mormons. They were the same Mormons. A newspaper set up by the rival faction of Mormons started printing about how John Smith had all of these ulterior motives about power and money and all that stuff. So John Smith, as mayor of this Mormon town, sent everybody in the town to burn the presses, and I don't know, I guess people died and stuff. Anyway, the greater Illinois area at that point were outraged by this. Like, what? Because he's mayor? He thinks he can just kill people in a newspaper? So they arrested John Smith. He was taken to a jail in Carthage, Illinois on this day. Him and his brother Hiram. And on this day, they were in jail, and people didn't like Mormons, and they stormed the jail, and they killed him. They stomped him to death. Well, they shot him, but they also probably stomped him to death. That was on this day in 1844. Now, after John Smith was killed, there was still, I'm telling you, they're like the Jews, man. The Jews of the Midwest. They are resilient and apparently pretty damn tough. The Mormons, after the death of John Smith, who was like their big boss man and the glue that held everything together, there was like this schism. There was like 3 other dudes who were like, I should be next. And I think the guy who won was Brigham Young. That's right. He was, what is he? He's like the original Heisman winner, right? Brigham Young. Isn't that what he did? Anyway, we know we've heard his name before. So he took them out of the Midwest because he's like, we got to get out of here. These people, Missouri hates us. Indiana hates us. Ohio, we've had problems in Ohio. Illinois, our leader just got stomped to death in Illinois. So Brigham Young said, let's go. And that's how they ended up in Utah. All right. I mean, that religion is like Scientology, right? It's like new. It's like, and by that, I don't mean, look, I am not a faithful man. I'll tell you, I was raised Catholic. But, I've got my questions, and I have not really found any group of people that call themselves an organized religion who have the same questions as me. And so whatever, I'm drifting. I'm a plastic bag on a windy day in a Kroger parking lot. That's what my faith. I look at everything. I don't subscribe to any one thing, But Mormons are new. They're new. And if I were, and I say this all the time, I'm like, you know what? If I was to get into a religion, it would probably be one that was around a long time ago. The big 3, I'm either going to be like, a biblical Catholic, like a Catholic, a Jew, or a Muslim. That's it. All the other ones are new religions or variations. Well, I guess the eastern part of the globe. And they got stuff over there. Buddhism. All right. That is acceptable. I will add Buddhism. But isn't Buddhism more new? Like among those religions, isn't Buddhism like the new one? Where they're like, oh, here we go with the made up religions. Antecedently, on this day in 1950, the United States decides to send troops to fight in the Korean War. That's right, the Korean War. The Korean War. The Korean War is the War of 1812 of the rock and roll era. That's what I say. It's one of them forgotten wars. We talk about these wars that we just skip over. When you're matriculating through the American public school system or private school, as I dabbled in both, here's what you get. You get the Revolutionary War, then you get the Civil War, and then you get nothing until you get World War I, a little bit of World War I, then a whole bunch of World War II, you start World War II at Thanksgiving and don't end it till Easter. That's how much World War II you get when I was going to school. Then, in the summertime, you got Vietnam, and it was all very touchy. Vietnam was because we were the children of Vietnam veterans, and so they didn't spend a whole lot of time educating us on the atrocities of Vietnam. It was just, very kid in gloves. A lot of the Vietnam classes were held outside because it was late May or June or whatever. It's warm. It's summertime. School is ending. It's the last week. Anyway, there you go. Korean War on this day in 1850. Korean War. For my generation, the Korean War is the war that your weird uncle fought in. Just not Vietnam. He's older than the hippies. Too young for the World War II guy. That's my Korean War uncle. I get him. Antecedently on this day in 1976, Air France, Flight 139, Tel Aviv to Paris, is hijacked en route to Paris by the PFLP and redirected where? Entebbe. Now, Entebbe is a nation in Uganda. Now, I love this story. Here's why I love it. I don't know. When I was very little, TV was my friend, and there was a TV movie called Raid on Entebbe, which was all about Idi Amin. And I saw that movie once because probably, there was no cable. But I saw it, and then I don't know, maybe I saw it again. Maybe they rerun it on late night or something, whatever. But it was a big movie in my life. At 12 years old, again, if you had said to me, Pugs, you're 12 years old, give me your 5 favorite movies. Raid on Entebbe might be one of them. What's Up, Doc? Would have definitely been one. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang would have made that list. Wizard of Oz for sure would have made that list. Oh yeah. Anyway, Raid on Entebbe. That was here's what happened. So some Arab hijackers took a plane load of Jewish people who were going, fancy Jewish people from Tel Aviv to Paris. They're going to Paris. These are Jewish people who can go to Paris. It's fancy. So they took the hostages, and they were all kind of, like I said, well-to-do people. And they hijacked a plane to Africa, and they landed it in Entebbe, which is in Uganda, which was currently being ruled by a very controversial world presence in a guy named Idi Amin. Last king of Scotland, Idi Amin. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, if you're new to this show, just so you know, the majority of my history knowledge comes from film. So there's a lot of film references. Anyway, Raid on Entebbe. That was a movie that I saw once when I was a little kid, and it was really good, and it was about this. The hijacked plane landed in Uganda, and basically the plane was believed to have been under the protection of Idi Amin, which is why they landed there. So any attempt from outside Western forces, colonial forces, or whatever, to free these hostages would be met with the Ugandan army. So something had to be planned. So this is the first time that me in my little life became aware of the badass Israeli commandos. Because this is for me, this is, I'm like, yeah, man, Israelis are badass. They ain't making Jews like Jesus anymore. I say that with a heavy hand. That's a great lyric. More on that coming up. Anyway, yeah, the Israeli commandos, they covertly went in and took over this plane right in front of the entire Ugandan army. It was badass. Raid on Entebbe. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that went down on this day in 1976. Antecedently on this day in 1994, members of the Om Shrinkyo, better than 70% chance I am pronouncing that wrong, They're a cult. They're a Japanese cult. This was the day that they released the sarin gas in the subway. Remember that in 1994? This like crazy band of Japanese weirdos. Didn't think they had them over there. We should have, because of kamikazes and stuff like that. And also, I've always said, and this is serious. I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. Like I've said this before, and people laugh. Don't laugh at this. This is not a joke. This is a very real human reaction. I mean, we're seeing it. So Japanese people are kind of weird. You know what I mean? They're kind of weird. Like Japanese vending machines with like, soiled panties in it, and airports. They sleep in boxes. There's a lot. Anime. Have you ever seen like anime? Look, Japanese people are kind of weird. So are Germans, but that's a different story. Japanese people are lovely. Oh my God, I was once in love with a Japanese girl. Oh, what a lovely culture. My son is obsessed with Japanese culture. So this is no knock on the Japanese people. This is simply me looking at this culture and trying to explain why they have crazy religious cults like we have in America. Okay. So here's my theory. Here's what they got nuked. They got nuked. I think that if you are a culture that gets nuked, I think that if you are a culture who experiences that, and they are the only culture on this planet to have had that happen to them, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, I think that changes you. I think that makes you a little bit weirder. I think that makes you, I think you've seen, the end. I think you've seen your entire family wiped. I think you've seen an entire city flattened. I think that has residual effect across generation lines. And 40 years later, you can buy soiled panties out of a vending machine in an airport. That's the Japanese. So yeah, they probably got crazy religious cults all over that place. On this day, one released sarin gas in the subways, killed 7 people, injured over 600 others. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the antecedently Q1 segment. Let's move on to birthdays. These are people celebrating birthdays today. All right, everybody, it's Helen Keller's birthday. Let's say happy birthday. And she won't hear it. That's a bad Helen Keller joke. I was raised on Helen Keller jokes. Gen X. This is why we can't be offended. Seriously, I think one of the reasons why you can't offend Gen X, because our earliest form of right, how like today they have like the Chuck Norris joke, those were Helen Keller jokes back when I was it was a Helen Keller, but except it all had to do with, being tragically disabled, which was, funny to Gen X. or if it wasn't funny, it was, it was something that was popular. Anyway, happy birthday, Helen Keller. You know what? Now I need an example of a good Helen Keller joke. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Hold on. Let me Google Helen Keller jokes. Let's see if these are funny. The only people laughing, certainly the millennials won't laugh, because they were the ones that, we experimented on trying to make better people, and we failed miserably. And then that gave birth to Gen Z, which we'll see. So far, I don't know. Helen Keller jokes. Okay. Gen X. We were awful. It's okay. List of Helen Keller jokes. Okay, we're just going to click on the first thing that comes up, and we'll see what these old Gen X. Did you know that Helen Keller had a dollhouse in her backyard? Neither did she. How did Helen Keller burn her ear off? Answering the iron. How did she burn the other one off? They called back. What is Helen Keller's favorite color? Velcro. I like that one. How come Helen Keller can't have kids? I don't like, that's a stupid one. I remember this one. How did Helen Keller drive herself crazy? Trying to read a stucco wall. Okay. All right, there you go. List of tragically inappropriate yet shockingly common Helen Keller jokes from Generation X. Helen Keller, born on this day in 1880. Born on this day in 1927, Bob Keeshan. Bob Keeshan, people don't know who Bob Keeshan is. Another Gen X icon. When did he die? No, he should have been. I don't know if he crossed over into millennials, but he's definitely a Gen X icon. His name is Bob Keeshan, but you know him better as Captain Kangaroo. Captain Kangaroo, Bob Keeshan. Think about that guy. He was, for our generation, he's like what? He's the Pepsi to Mr. Rogers Coke, kind of, right? For our generation. Like we had Mr. Rogers, and I don't say that he was like the establishment, the big guy that everybody, because he wasn't. He was PBS, for crying out loud, and run by a bunch of drugged up hippies. But he was like the guy. And then Captain Kangaroo was the other guy, Bob Keeshan. Born on this day in 1927. Born on this day in 1930, Ross Perot. Little Ross Perot. What do I know about Ross Perot? Partied with his grandson once. He was pretty cool. I know I didn't pay for anything. I don't know if he did either, but I didn't pay for anything. He was cool. That's it. I got nothing else on Ross Perot. He ran for president. He was a fairly effective third-party candidate who brought charts and gave the nation the very first vice presidential candidate that was just so obviously there because he looked or had a resume that appeared to legitimize the independent candidate, but really had no business being there. That guy, Stockdale. Ugh. Okay, there you go. Ross Perot, born on this day in 1930. Here come the hiccups. Born on this day in 1966, J.J. Abrams. I don't know if I like J.J. Abrams or not. I don't know. He did a movie. I like that movie, 8mm. That's really great. Like the programming for any film fan is J.J. Abrams is having a birthday. Oh, he's fantastic. Oh, he's so one of those powerful, ingenious, innovative. He's the new Spielberg. I don't know. He's all right. 8mm, but not 8mm. I don't know. He did some movie with a train. 35mm. I don't know. He did some movie with a train, and I thought it had something to do with a camera. That was good. I never saw Lost. Happy birthday, J.J. Abrams. I'm not a Star Trek guy. Didn't he do Star Trek? Happy birthday, J.J. Abrams. Born on this day in 1975. This is a fascinating person to me right now in my life where I am, and you might be confused, but I'll elaborate once I tell you the name. It is Tobey Maguire's birthday. Tobey Maguire. There's this guy. I'll show him to you. You know, you might not know who Tobey Maguire is because I'll tell you, man, Tobey Maguire ain't been around much. Tobey Maguire ain't done much. At least not on camera. At least not big, you know. Here he is, this dude right here. I mean, he was big. He stars in like 2 of my favorite movies of all time. There he is. I talk all the time about I have this list of like go-to movies that just set a vibe, like the vibe that I'm in. Silver Linings Playbook. I mentioned that yesterday. Beautiful Girls is one. Wonder Boys. I mentioned Wonder Boys yesterday. Stars Tobey Maguire. Love Actually, if the holidays, or another one. The Ice Storm stars Tobey Maguire. The Ice Storm is wonderful, wonderful. The Upside of Anger. These are my mood movies. I should make a whole list of my mood movies. Just, you know, when I'm feeling the mood and I just want to watch something that's good. At least to me, you know, movies are subjective. Tobey Maguire, that's him. Spider-Man. Now, here's what's interesting about Tobey Maguire. So you all know that I was rebinging Entourage, the HBO show. I rebinged it. I watched it all. Watched it all. 8 seasons. Man, it's like ice cold Coke on a hot day. Just that goes down. Entourage. A rebinge of Entourage is just over before you're like, really? That's it? That was a lot of seasons and a lot of really. I fast forward through a lot of stupid stuff because there's a lot of stupid, so maybe that's why. But anyways, I was rewatching Entourage, and I told you I was doing a deep background dive as I watched, just, you know, Wikipedia pages and reading articles about the producers. Wanted to know as much as I could about the behind the scenes of Entourage. So what I learned was the character of Vincent Chase. I don't know if I told you this or not, but the character of Vincent Chase has always fascinated me because although we know that Mark Wahlberg is the executive producer of Entourage, the whole concept of a dude who becomes a movie star and brings his friends from back home with him, and then they tear Hollywood apart as party boys, that was Mark Wahlberg. He pitched that's what it was. So it was a fictionalized version of that. So we knew that there was some Mark Wahlberg in the character of Vinny Chase, but he didn't, he wasn't, first of all, Mark Wahlberg was Boston, Vinny Chase was New York, decidedly New York. But so I was doing some reading, and here's the breakdown of who Vinny Chase was in Hollywood, because there's Easter eggs all over the series run, and I started to pick them up. So the lifestyle of Vinny Chase, the lifestyle of the friends and the mansion and the beautiful women and the parties and the big hits, right? The lifestyle. That's Mark Wahlberg. That was all based on Mark Wahlberg. Many of the stories that unfold in Entourage are real stories from Mark Wahlberg's, run in Hollywood. Okay, so that's the lifestyle. But that ain't Vinny Chase's personality. Who is Vinny Chase's personality? Vinny Chase's personality was based on Leonardo DiCaprio. Apparently, Vinny Chase was acting the way Leonardo DiCaprio acts when he's just hanging out, when he's just like, okay, so you got Mark Wahlberg lifestyle and you got Leonardo DiCaprio's personality. So whose career did they base Vinny Chase's on in Hollywood? Who was he? Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire is the career. And that's wild, because when you know that and you watch, you're like, oh yeah, Tobey Maguire did Spider-Man, became the #1 movie of all time. Vinny Chase did Aquaman, became the #1 movie of all time. Then they went into independent film, and they did some award. Anyway, it's very similar. The reason they didn't use Tobey Maguire's personality, who we're looking at here, it's birthday boy Tobey Maguire. The reason they didn't use Tobey Maguire's personality, and possibly the reason that we don't see Tobey Maguire very much anymore, is because he is a supreme asshole. Apparently major dick, so much so that if you're familiar with the movie, and this is such a great movie, it's called Molly's Game. It's one of the first movies that I noticed Jessica Chastain, and I was like, holy crap, I like her. Molly's Game is the true story of an underground poker game that took place in Hollywood in the 2000s. It's a big money poker game, and it was a lot of big stars participated in this poker game. One of them was Tobey Maguire, and we know this because Molly got arrested. The reason they made the movie's Molly's Game, the reason they made that great movie is because, there were some repercussions to all this, and Tobey Maguire was basically outed as one of the regulars. They didn't use his name in the movie. They didn't use his name. They only called him Player X. Okay. And, he was an actor, and they referred to him, all that stuff. You're a big movie star, and other people like to play with the big movie star. Michael Cera portrayed Tobey Maguire. This is supposed to be what Tobey Maguire is really like. Michael Cera as Player X from Molly's Game.
You disapprove of me.
It's not personal.
It feels personal when you chat up every other guy at the game except me. When you stay late for a drink with JT, but never... Have you visited his Oscar? I think it's bolted on the hood of his car. It's noticeable when you go out of your way to demonstrate that you have no interest in me. You did the same thing to Dean. These guys want to play cards with me, not you.
Be that as it may.
You know who the biggest winner in this game is?
It's you.
You know who the second biggest winner is?
Look.
It's you. What are you taking home? 10,000 a night now?
That is my business, literally.
Between you, the dealers, and the servers, you're taking a lot of money out of this game.
Not as much as I'm bringing to it.
That 10,000 is 10,000 that doesn't go in my pocket.
Again, my money...
Your money is my money.
Is it?
I think we should talk about capping your tips.
You want to get together with the other players who on my tax returns are called clients and discuss putting a ceiling on my wages?
That's right.
It'll be America's most closely watched antitrust case. Right there, right then, that fast, I lost the game.
Tobey Maguire is an a-hole. Make no mistake. So it's your birthday, but screw off. Born on this day in 1975, Tobey Maguire, Hollywood a-hole. Born on this day in 1984, Okay, Khloe Kardashian. It's Khloe Kardashian's birthday. All right, it's not Kim, right? She's like thick Kim, right? And then there's and then right? She's the middle one. No, she's the baby. Because here's what's weird about the Kardashians. The littlest one, who you would just think is the baby, the littlest one is actually the oldest one. Also, fun fact about the Kardashians, Kim is only 5'1". She's only 5'1". My good friend, Kim Kardashian, who I sat with for the better part of an hour, who I then stood in line with, chatting, just making small talk about salsa and whatnot. She's only 5'1". I didn't realize that. She was probably wearing heels, but still. All right. Happy birthday, Khloe Kardashian. Oh, she's the one that was married to the basketball player that Dick Hunter found dead and then brought back to life. Dick Hunter did mouth-to-mouth on Lamar Odom and saved his life. I don't know why the people don't report that. It's true. It happened. Khloe Kardashian, happy birthday, 1984. Born on this day in 1986. Here's another birthday. Drake Bell, someone who I had no idea who this was until a couple of months ago when I learned that he was molested for, years on Nickelodeon shows. He's the center, right? Drake Bell. He's the centerpiece of that Dark Side of TV. Isn't that what it's called? I can't remember it. I think that's what it's called. That's what it should be called. Happy birthday, Drake Bell. I hope you're doing okay. All right, that's going to do it for the birthday segment. Now let's talk about people who have passed away on this day. Let's open up their life's resume and let's decide if they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1996, Albert Broccoli. Albert Broccoli. Do we know where Albert Broccoli is? He's a film producer. He produced all the Bond movies. He's the Bond guy. You know I don't watch Bond movies, so he's not going to get any, love from me on that. I don't hate Bond movies. I just never really watched them. I might love them. So anyway, Albert Broccoli, he was the executive producer. He brought James Bond and the James Bond franchise to the film world. He's very wealthy, very powerful guy, even though that's pretty much all he ever did. It doesn't matter. Every couple of years, he had another blockbuster Bond movie. So that, if you can have that in your career, who cares what the content of the movies you're releasing are? Yes, it's more impressive if every time it's a completely different movie that does a blockbuster business, but hey, that's what franchises are about. After you're done yelling at Albert Broccoli, go find the people behind Fast and the Furious, because they're doing the same damn thing. Star Wars. Anyway, he's going to hell. Why? Because he was a movie producer back then. You don't think there are any movie producers who were active in the 50s, 60s, and 70s who were in heaven, do you? Oh my God, no. Dead on this day in 2001. Absolutely going to heaven. Sorry. We're just gonna do it preemptively for Jack Lemmon. Jack Lemmon. Nobody could play fecklessly agitated to the extent that Jack Lemmon could. And by that, I mean, like, Jack Lemmon characters were always just like on the verge of losing it, but they can't lose it because they'll get fired, So just like the feckless agitation in the way that Jack Lemmon acted. Oh, he's in heaven. He's in heaven. Also, he has a very funny grave marker. There's a picture on my Facebook page of me standing in front of Jack Lemmon's grave. And it just says, it's a big black headstone, and it just says Jack Lemmon in, and then just the ground, which is funny. That's funny. That's Jack Lemmon. He's going to heaven. Dead on this day in 2002, John Entwistle. Didn't even know this guy was dead. That's the plight of the 70s bass player in the super band, right? John Entwistle, The Who, bass player for The Who, one of the inarguably greatest bands of all time, biggest bands of all time. John Entwistle was the bass player. He's the one nobody knows. Everybody knows Keith Moon. Keith Moon died 45 years ago, but everybody still knows him. John Entwistle died in 2002. I had no idea. John Entwistle, he was in The Who. He was in The Who in the 1960s and 70s. All right, you know what I'm saying? John Entwistle. Enjoy hell. I mean, hell's going to have a good rock band, is all I'm saying. Dead on this day in 2015. This is This is when I've talked about this before, because we've done this show now for 3 years. So we've come across the passing of the great Chris Squire. Yes. The rock band, yes, of course, Chris Squire. I have a personal little thing with Chris Squire. One of my best friends back in Illinois, who's dead now, his name is Gary. He was a music producer. He's a record producer, and he ran a studio on the south side of Chicago. Ran a studio in Orland Hills, Illinois. And it was basically the studio for traveling musicians of note. And, you know, if they were in Chicago and they needed to lay something down, they knew they could go to Gary. Gary's been associated with, like, you know, big sign bands. Never worked a day in his life. Every single day, he was in a band. He quit the band. And then he took the money because the band was kind of successful. And he took the money and he bought a studio. And from that point on, he was just a record guy. He had it was a home studio. It was a house. It was half of his house, the addition. He built on this big addition to his house. He had a house and then a big addition in the back that was just this amazing studio, the great Blue Heron studio. I did a bunch of podcasts there on TV. We used to do a TV talk segment with Gary years ago. Gary's dead now. Gary and Chris Squire were like really good friends. That's how I came to like be a fan of Chris Squire. Just having been at the studio once when Chris was there. Chris was in town doing something, I don't know, at the House of Blues. And he always didn't make time, but he always would stop. And he's like, you know, I always know that, you know, wherever I am in the country is when I can get to Chicago, I can at least get to Gary's and I can lay down the stuff I've been working on and we'll have it. And then we can move on. Chris Squire's going to heaven. He was cool. English musician, bass player, singer, songwriter. Member of the band, yes. Dead on this day in 2015. He was always good to my buddy Gary. Dead on this day in 2018. Joe Jackson. Not the stepping out guy. Not the, is she really going out with him? Not that one. The one that severely fucked up Michael. That one, that's the Joe Jackson whose birthday it is. That's him. He's in hell. He's got to go to hell, right? The father of the Jacksons. I mean, just think of how he worked those kids. I mean, yeah, well, Pugs, look, they all got rich. Yeah, and they're all fucked up. That really, you put money ahead of, you know, just being a normal, adjusted person who has a life that they're happy and content with. That's the goal. Not creating a gigantic corporation in your fucked up weirdo son who sleeps with elephant man bones and God knows what else he's sleeping with. No, thank you, Joe Jackson. You're going to hell. All right. Next, this one is going to be a bit less of a part of that segment, a little bit more. Some we'll just talk about some because just before we signed on today, we lost an absolute icon of the great Lone Star State, a Texas treasure, a true Texas treasure. Kinky Friedman passed away at the age of 79 years old. He's going to heaven. Let's absolutely not even delay that. Let's get that out of the way. You've got to find what you love and let it kill you. That's a quote from Kinky Friedman. I love that quote. I've loved that quote for years. That is just such a great, and that's really, you know, that's really what life is. Like, I just screamed at people about, you know, sure, Michael Jackson was famous and he had money and all that stuff, but, you know, he's dead because he had to sleep in a chamber and find what you love and let it kill you. That's life. You found what you love, so it doesn't matter. You're happy. Just be happy. Just try to find something that fulfills you, commit yourself to it, and let that kill you. Hey, why not? That's just a beautiful thing. I love that. Kinky Friedman. Another great Kinky Friedman line. This man was a writer. He was Will Rogers, Mark Twain. That's often what he said. The hillbilly Mark Twain, or not the hillbilly, the Jew boy, Texas Jew boy, Mark Twain. One of his other things, I quoted it already. They ain't making Jews like Jesus anymore. We don't turn the cheek like we did before. From his song, They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore, which is probably his most well-known song. He was a satirical country outlaw rock guy originally in the 1970s, 60s too as well. But that was his thing. He hung out with Willie. You know, back when the Austin scene was popping off and all of those dudes were making history, Kinky was right there with him. He would go on to become a writer, a very famous writer. His novels sold. He was a writer. I'm not a reader. So to me, but he was a very well-respected and accomplished writer as well of books and novels. Creative, so wonderfully creative with words. A terrific speaker. Ran for governor against Rick Perry in 2006. His political positions mirror mine of 2024 almost perfectly. Where he was in 2006 when he was running for governor, I wasn't there. Where he was in 2006, I saw this a couple of months back. I was reading something about Kinky Friedman, and I was looking at his political positions, what he ran on in 2006, and I'm like, holy shit, that's me. Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys, that was his band. You could either be offended or you could actually listen and recognize or be completely blown away by the fact that what you were listening to was one of the great political satirists of our time whose medium of choice was Texas outlaw country. Kinky Friedman was a brilliant man. Spent much of his younger days in Chicago to a Jewish family. He had a dad who just had enough of it at some point. And so when Kinky was a teen, his dad chucked everything. I think his dad was a doctor. His dad chucked everything and opened up a ranch, the Echo Park Ranch, outside Austin. So Kinky grew up, went to high school, all of that stuff in Austin. Little Jew boy, as he called himself, from the west side of Chicago with his kinky hair, his kinky Jewfro, as he said, which is why his name was Kinky. See, all of these things that we in 2024 find so offensive. Oh, how could he say that? Outrage culture wasn't around back then. So what happened was you'd hear this guy, you'd hear these provocative lyrics, read the lyrics to They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore. If you just, you can't play it on the radio. Why? Because nobody who makes those decisions on radio is really interested in what the actual message of the song is. It is incredibly offensive. The N-word is used just so cavalierly. The song They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore is about a guy, him, Kinky Friedman, who walks into a bar in Texas and is sitting there having a drink, listening to a loudmouth talk about how he don't like Jews and he don't like the N-words and he don't like the gays. This is 1974. And the character in the story turns to Kinky and thinks he sees a friend, thinks he sees somebody who, because Kinky looks like a Texan. Kinky's got a cowboy hat on. Kinky's got his boots on. That's what the song's about. Read the song, be offended, and then completely have the message of one of the great satirists of our times lost on you because you are too much about outrage culture and just being the first to get triggered. Because there's like line 3, and They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore. Line 3 of that probably is where you, hell, there is a guy in his band named Big, and then the N-word, except it's just 1 G, and it stops at 1. It's N-I-G. Big Nig. Oh, what am I, a child? We're grown-ups here. We can have a reasonable conversation. Anyway, the purpose of Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boy was to shock you, but then to make you listen. It was to shock you and have a conversation with you and deliver a message about how, why are we all hating each other, through some humorous and absolutely brilliant ways. That's who Kinky Friedman was. He loved his guns. He loved his cigars. One of the things that he said when he was running for Texas governor was that he was made governor. One of the first things he was going to do is pull back all of the smoking laws. He was going to pull back. He's going to allow Texans to be able to smoke. He was appalled at the idea that a Texan couldn't just smoke a cigar wherever he wanted. And yes, Kinky Friedman is my exception to the rule that only assholes smoke cigars, because Kinky Friedman was satirically trying to be a bit of an asshole, which is why he was so great. I first came to know Kinky long before 2006. It was in the early 1990s. I was working on a morning show in Chicago, a guy by the name of Kevin Matthews, who was a massive Kinky Friedman fan. And, one of my first jobs in radio, one of the first people I had to book was I had to get a hold of Kinky down there at the ranch in Texas and get him booked for the show. Over the years, he did the show probably 24 times when I was there. Came in studio, a gentleman, that was his whole vibe, man. He was a gentleman with a smile and a joke and a pat on the back, who was about to tell you something that was going to be a little difficult for you to hear. It was going to be a little bit against the programming, but he was going to make sense because he's smart. And then he would sit back, puff on a cigar, and watch you have some kind of a breakdown because he made sense, saying something that you didn't think you agreed with. Kinky Friedman died at 79 years old today at his ranch down there outside Austin, Texas. Strange time, because as we've been watching, we know that his good and great and old friend Willie Nelson is also suffering right now. Willie is significantly older than Kinky. Kinky was only 79. Let me see what this is. This is okay. So this just popped up. We're talking about the death of Kinky Friedman. The Texas Tribune. Okay, Texas Tribune just posted this. Kinky Friedman, provocative satirist and a one-time gubernatorial candidate, dies at 79 years old. Friedman launched a boisterous campaign for governor in 2006, decades after forming the band Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys. Which, by the way, if you're just offended by that, you're only offended by the Jew Boy thing. And if you completely miss the cultural reference that he's parodying, then you're ignorant. It was a play on Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, which were like a great band, the Texas Jew Boy. Okay, so he's obviously doing something satirical here. It says here, Richard Kinky Friedman, the provocative and flamboyant Texas satirist who mounted a spirited campaign for governor in 2006, has died. He was 79. Friedman died at his longtime home at Echo Hill Ranch in Medina. His friends, Cleve Hattersley, said in an interview, and Kent Perkins said on social media, he had Parkinson's disease. Friedman was known for his outsized persona, pithy one-liners, and signature look. Curly hair poking out from beneath a black cowboy hat, cigar in one hand. He was a communicator, an unusual, but very pointed and poignant communicator. He could bring you to tears on stage, but he could also make you roll on the floor with laughter. Friedman gained a reputation as a provocateur in the early 70s. He formed the satirical country band Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys, which penned songs like "They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore" and "Get Your Biscuits in the Oven and Your Buns in the Bed," which was a satirical takedown of the women's rights movement. Just, from a guy who's like, basically his point of view is, yeah, baby, you can have everything you want, but come on over here. You're looking good. It made men who understood that there was an unfair situation with women in the workplace and women in greater society. It was a bit unfair. It was a little, it allowed men to balance both sides of it. Yeah, I do. I believe that women, could probably stand with a little bit more, standing in society. But also, I like their hot asses. That's the kind of stuff that he did. Get your biscuits in the oven and your buns in the bed. Later, he published a novel that featured fictionalized versions of himself, blah, blah, blah. In politics, Friedman staked out an unusual position. Let's see. He wanted to legalize marijuana and casino gambling. He supported same-sex marriage in 2006, long before the Supreme Court legalized it nationally, quipping, "I support gay marriage because I believe they have the right to be just as miserable as the rest of us." It's another Kinky Friedman quote right there that we have heard everyone use since. Nobody ever attributes it to him. Hattersley, who was his friend, said Friedman's irreverence gave voice to more ideas. Right now, we're kind of in a time in society where word usage is being suppressed and language is okay. We don't care about his friend waxing poetic about the loss. Kinky Friedman, he's in heaven. He was a really cool man. He was a cool guy, a cool little guy. He did Pugs and Kelly show a couple of times. Probably when he was running for governor. That's probably we had him on then. But I want to say we also, I think we had him at the Texas Motor Speedway too. I think he was out there doing something. What a gentleman. Anyway, everybody's got to go. And you know what? We should all be as blessed as to live a life as fulfilling as Kinky Friedman did. He never saw the heights of fame and success as his good buddies Merle and Willie. But God, he lived it, man. He enjoyed life. Oh, and he had money. Like, I don't mean to say, but Willie Nelson's got like $1 billion. You know, Kinky Friedman maybe had like 50 million. You know what I mean? He had money. Like, we're not talking about he's broke. He was. Anyway, the great Kinky Friedman. All right, that's going to do it for that segment. Once again, I'd like to remind you, if you are so inclined and want to support this kind of radio, this kind of talk radio, which isn't necessarily politically partisan, tries not to be divisive. We don't spend a whole lot of time on politics in general. If you want to help support that, drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App. The 4th of July weekend is really, really going to screw up Pledge Week. But okay, we're going to be fine. Let's see here. What are we doing? Oh, here we go. It's time for quarter 4. That's right. All today's biggest topics. Let me see here. SCOTUS. All right, I guess that's the top story, right? Is there anything else going on? Did Trump announce that he's not showing up for the debate yet? Because I'm telling you, I would put a lot of money on that right now. Well, not a lot. A lot to me is like 20. I'd put 20 on it. Biden expected to go on the offensive on immigration tonight. Okay, great. So we got that to look forward to. He can't even pronounce immigration. And Trump can't define it. That's how I would say it. Have I mentioned that I'm not a big fan of either one? Yeah. Supreme Court. Okay, couple of things about the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is getting all of their big decisions in now. Typically, we think that the Supreme Court will disappear Friday for their summer break, right? But no, it looks to me now as if the Supreme Court's going to roll in the next week into July, which is unprecedented in the Supreme Court's at least recent history. So they're slow rolling a whole bunch of major decisions. The Supreme Court is going to weigh in. They weighed in on some social media stuff yesterday. They had a screw up with the abortion decision, which, by the way, they released, and we'll get to that. But they had a screw up with that yesterday, where the state of Idaho, they've got an abortion ban. No abortions ever. But, sometimes mom's in a car accident and they're trying to save her life, and the emergency room doctor has to perform an abortion in Idaho, and that's suddenly illegal. And abortion is saying, yeah, we want that. Or Idaho is saying, yeah, we want that to stay illegal. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, no, shut up. No, shut up, stupid. You can have your abortion ban, okay? So 17-year-old cheerleader can't go get that thing taken care of. You can have that. But when it's time for doctors to make some fucking decisions, stay the fuck out of it. Stay the fuck out of it. Supreme Court got another one right. Appreciate that. They leaked that yesterday. They released it officially today, but it ended up online like before, which is, what is going on there? I thought Supreme Court, because this would have been, who's the person that would have put it online? A 19-year-old Georgetown student who's doing a summer internship and clerking at the Supreme, or whatever. That's supposed to be our best and brightest. That's not supposed to be the people who screw up and accidentally post something of national significance accidentally before it's supposed to be posted. That is not. I never saw that character in the West Wing. I saw a lot of bright and go-getter young people on the West Wing. Okay, so there's that. There's the abortion thing. The Idaho ban is on hold. This is what the Supreme Court said. The Idaho ban on all abortion in the case of the mother is on hold. Idaho ban is on hold for a medical emergency and not just life or death. Oh, they went farther. Okay. So what the Supreme Court has said is that the Idaho ban on abortion, no abortion in Idaho. What the Supreme Court has said is that doctors, not only can doctors perform an abortion in violation of state law, not only can they perform an abortion in violation of state law in the event of it saving the mother's life, but the Supreme Court went even further and said, no, we're going to let doctors do it if it's just a medical emergency in their judgment. That's a big win for science. And a big loss for, Pilates instructors who become governors of Idaho or whatever. Let a doctor do a doctor thing when somebody's leg is hanging off by a thread, okay? Let a doctor make the decision. Good for the Supreme Court. Okay, so I'm good with that. Okay, SCOTUS also, they slapped Biden. They gave him a punch in the face. They told his Good Neighbor program. Apparently, the Biden administration has a Good Neighbor program that's designed to curb smog. I don't know what it is because that stuff bores me, but the Supreme Court said, nope. Biden administration, you must halt your Good Neighbor program. Here's the big one, though. This is what we got to talk about. The Supreme Court rejected Purdue Pharma's opioid settlement deal. So we've been following this. This is wonderful. This is so nice. Purdue Pharma made OxyContin. Purdue Pharma then made billions and billions of dollars marketing OxyContin as something that is non-addictive. And now we have the OxyContin addiction problem because, as it turns out, they were lying. I mean, they weren't wrong. That'd be, if they were wrong, it's like, oh, you fucking idiots. But they weren't wrong. They were lying. They were lying. They knew it was addictive. But, stock prices. So, and, it's really just something that, when a construction worker falls off a roof, it's for them. It's for their back pain. And who cares if those worker bees, those disposable worker bees become addicts? That was kind of how it was thought. It was thought that, as long as this isn't something that's abused, very much similar to the way crack was thought of. As long as it's not something that's affecting, white suburban teenagers, and that was kind of what Sacklers, the family who was behind Purdue Pharma, that was kind of their whole attitude. And we have what we have. We have the opioid crisis. Now, they had made a deal. Remember, they all went bankrupt and all kinds of problems, but still the Sacklers are going to be able to keep their $50 billion or whatever they have. They live in this castle down there in Austin, this big compound, the Sackler family compound. They are worth billions. And they cut a deal. They cut a deal with the federal government. They cut, oh, we're so sorry. And it was it was a class action settlement, and billions of dollars were on the table. Here's the thing. In that settlement agreement, anybody in the future was now forbidden from bringing additional charges against the Sacklers, which means they're done. We're going to pay this money and we're going to be done. And we're just all going to stop talking about what we did to America's hillbillies. Okay? That was what the Sacklers wanted, which is absurd because somebody who is tragically affected by what the Sacklers did, who wasn't in on that class action. So now they can never sue the Sackler family again. That's it. That's the end of it. Or if there's a completely different set of things that we now learn are directly related to opioids and the Sacklers, nobody can ever sue them again. They just go, no, we're going to stay in Austin on a pile of money. So that was the deal. That was the class action that was accepted. And they went, yep, this is how it's going to be. Sacklers, you're done. Guess what the Supreme Court said today? Supreme Court said, not so fast, Sacklers. Nope. We are tearing up that deal. We are the Supreme Court of the United States. We are tearing up that deal because we think you should still be vulnerable to other people who want to come and take your billions and billions of dollars. Purdue Pharma's opioid settlement is rejected by the Supreme Court. It would have shielded the Sacklers from future lawsuits. Okay, so this was a majority of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-3. Okay. So 1, 2, how is this? Is this right? Okay, this is why I'm confused. This is such a weird, this did not break down. Most Supreme Court decisions break down among, right and left. Not this one. Not that this is how deeply affected America is by what the Sackler family did. Even the right-wing judges and the far left-wing judges are in agreement on this one. So here's who wrote the majority. These are the ones who said, yeah, the Sackler family, you ain't done. These are the ones who said it, okay? Gorsuch, Thomas, Clarence Thomas, Gorsuch and Thomas, two of the right-wingers. Alito, another of the right-winger. Coney Barrett, a bit more moderate, Catholic right-winger. And Katanya Jackson. Roberts, Sotomayor, Kagan, they were on the other side. They're like, nah, that's good. Let's move on. Thank God. What a weird, when did you ever think that Samuel Alito and Katanya Jackson would, co-author? Well, good. That's what the Supreme Court is supposed to be. Because this is a common sense one that shouldn't be broken up down along ideological lines. It's common sense. These people made a lot of money knowingly ruining the lives of millions of Americans. Knowingly. There's got to be something more. All right, so that's basically what's happening with the Supreme Court. Now, we are awaiting the big immunity decision. Where are we on that? Nope. Okay, so the immunity decision is now being held back, it's believed. It's believed that whether or not the president, Trump's thing that's in front of the Supreme Court, whether or not the president has immunity, blah, blah, blah. Look it up elsewhere. We don't get into the weeds on that stuff. But the reason they're holding it back is because they didn't want it to affect the debate. What? The Supreme Court is concerned about good TV? Well, it is 2024. That is the world we live in now. All right. But yeah, that's what they're saying. They're like, just going to leave it out. We're going to leave it out. We're going to... Sorry, I'm thirsty. All right, now let's get in. What else do we got? Supreme Court. It's debate night. It is debate night. Tonight, Biden and Trump square off in historic debate. It says it right there on CNN, so it must be true. Still don't think Trump's going to show up. Like, here's what would be the real player move for Trump. He doesn't show up, but he also doesn't tell anybody they ain't going to show up. So that, like, they're just waiting. Like, they don't have any time at all to change it. They just go live and Trump's not there. Is he coming? And the kids, like, in the parking lot looking. I don't see him. They're on walkie-talkies. That's what he should do. Just don't show up. Don't show up. And then while you're not showing up, call into like, I don't know, who's on Hannity? Call in Newsmax. Call into one of them, go live and be like, yeah, CNN, I don't know. I think that's what he's going to do. I think that's what he should do, because I certainly don't think that he should go up there and try and get into a quiet, room-controlled debate about issues. And look, I say this about Trump all the time. He's got his people. Biden's got his people. Then there's another group of people in the middle. Not a whole lot of people in the middle. I think most people have already made up their mind, but there are some, and those are the people that are going to make the difference in this election. And those are the people that are probably going to be affected most by this debate. Now, if Trump behaves the way Trump behaves, which is the way that appeals to MAGA, which is that truly, as I explained it yesterday, why it works. It's just authentically angry guy, authentically pissed off at all of the shit. We're all angry. The world is changing. It's hard to change. And populists like that have always been popular. Tells it like it is. He's one of those guys. And even if when he's telling it like it is, it's completely wrong, that doesn't matter, because the people that are really most motivated by that kind of thing, they don't care. They just want to see their frustration with the way things are going being projected back to them in a candidate they can vote for. They're not voting on substance or issues. They're voting on the emotion of this is bullshit and it's got to stop. Now, that's not a surprise with Trump anymore. He's been around since 2016. So I think the people who are motivated by that, I think the people who are already, into that, man, there are Trump people. That's MAGA. That's them. They're crazy for it. They're already spoken for. It's not like some of these people in the middle are like, I was shocked at how vulgar he can be. Those people have already seen it, and that's one of the reasons they're still not committed. So I believe that Trump showing up tonight, all he's going to do is, play to his strengths. He's a very comfortable performer. He knows what works. And I'm just telling you, that stuff that he's going to rely on, I believe, doesn't work with people who are still in the middle. Because if you are still in the middle, then you're not fully committed, or you are bothered by some of the things that Trump does. And you look at Biden and you go, no. In other words, I don't see anybody but Biden getting an advantage from this sliver of people in the middle. I don't see this benefiting anybody but Biden tonight if they do this. Unless, you want to know how Trump, okay, so there is a way that Trump wins. I just don't think he's capable of this. If Trump comes out and blows us away by being professional, by being dignified, if he's, kind and generous and, the way that you want a statesman to be, decent, coming off as decent and not angry, emotionally in control. If he comes across like that, I think Trump wins in a landslide in November. I don't think he will. But here's the thing. I have seen him like that. We have seen him like that. I've seen him like that recently in some of these interviews where he sits with his hands on his knees and his fingers crossed. He's working on something. Now, if he can pull that off, then okay, let's see it. Let's see how that debate goes. Biden, for his part, he just has to seem like he's not dangerously close to falling asleep at some point up there. That's all he's got to do. Show up. I'm Joe. You know me. I'm president. All right. That's his people are already there too. And anybody that is still in the middle, I'm telling you, the people who are still in the middle and who are undecided, they don't hate Biden, but they just don't know. And they like some of the things that Trump stands for, but they just don't like him. He just comes across to them as a dick, as like a New York rich guy, con man, snake oil salesman, like a lot of people see him. And then they look at Biden and they go, oh, fuck. This is like, I got two babysitters here to choose from, John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know which one. I don't know which one I want watching my kid. Debate tonight. All right, I still don't think he's going to show up. I think that's the move. That's the baller move. Trump, no way he loses the debate if he doesn't show up. That's what I say. I didn't lose the debate. I didn't show up. And guess who owns the cycle? Guess who has every camera chasing him to get a comment or to talk about it? Trump. He owns tomorrow's cycle. If Biden, if he were to show up and Biden were to be pretty competent, that is what the news cycle will be. Biden was surprisingly aware, and that's what it'll be. But if Trump doesn't show up, it's going to be, he loves being popular. He is going to be the most talked about thing going. And again, I don't know. Baller moves like that, you never know how that'll affect a certain segment of society that he's trying to lure. I just heard the dog. I thought the dog was in here. Oh, here's the dog. All right, never mind. Anyway, debate is tonight. Are you excited? See, I am excited because I want it to go on. I want to watch it. It's going to be the most entertaining thing on TV in a while. It's going to be a ratings monster. Everybody's going to watch this thing. It's going to do Super Bowl type numbers. If it happens. I want it to happen. Don't think it will. I don't think it will. All right, let's keep going. Debate night. Short of that, last night was the NBA draft. Ugh. I don't know why I didn't talk about the NBA draft yesterday. I mean, I knew it was happening because I was very interested to see what my Bulls were going to take. See what my Bulls were going to take at number 11. I was so ready to be upset. I was so ready to be upset because 11, and this is not a stellar draft. It's not a great draft. 11, you should get something that, maybe you take a flyer at 11 in this draft. Maybe you draft a 12-year-old, with the 11th pick in a draft like this one. There were a couple of no-brainers, but then the rest of it was kind of a hodgepodge of guys that he could be really good, but I don't know. So I was prepared for the Bulls to draft something terrible, and they didn't. They just drafted who I wanted. Mattis Bazelis, Get out of here. Lithuanian kid, born and raised in Chicago. His parents are Lithuanian immigrants. He's only like 18 years old. He didn't go to college. Like, he could have gone to college. He was going to go to Kentucky, but he decided not to. So, that's the caliber of college he would have gone to. He was going to go to Kentucky, but he ended up going straight to the G League. Played 1 year. He's in 19 now, and the Bulls took him. And we all in Chicago wanted the Bulls to take him because he's a Hinsdale kid, but also because, we like our foreign players. We like our Tony Kukocs. Anyway. He cried like a baby when the Bulls drafted him 11. It was one of the most beautiful things. And his brother who was sitting next to him was even more emotionally devastated than Mattis was. So anyway, that was my highlight of the NBA draft. The real weird thing about the NBA draft last night is that, guys, I don't know when this happened, but when did the French take over the sport of basketball? We know when the Japanese took over baseball. The Japanese dominate baseball. They're the best baseball players in the world. The best baseball players are being produced. They're no longer Major League Baseball players. Japanese baseball players are the best. We saw it, World Baseball Classic. We have a device now in place to sort of judge what nations can field the best teams. And guess what? When all the teams were comprised of players from singular nations, the Japanese destroyed everyone. Japanese can play baseball. They stole baseball from us. Our gift to you. Our gift to them after World War II. Hey, sorry about the nuclear weapons, but can I interest you in a child's game? France took basketball at some point. Don't know when they took basketball. Last year, right? Victor Wembanyama, he's always the greatest player of all time. He's a French freak. This year, the first 2 picks were French guys. First pick from France. Second pick from France. And then, to make it worse, I think like 3 of the first 6 were French players. France. What is going on with France? Is it because France? Is it because France? Oh, God. I need Adam Reina. Oh, there he is. Good. Adam Reina's right there. Because I'm about to say something that is so innocent and just truly curious, but Adam is going to think it's racist. And this is a problem. So, Adam, this one's for you. Is France getting good at basketball because they're so close to Africa? Oh! Is it? Are they? Like French. There's a lot of Africans in France because of like Tunisia and Morocco and all that. There's a lot of African people in France. And I think we know that ethnicity does dominate American basketball. Now, that brings us to the nature versus nurture thing because, one might always think that, well, basketball is dominated by minorities in America, particularly the black crowd, because basketball is a sport that can be played with very minimal investment. A hoop and a ball is all that is needed, like soccer and its growth around the world in some of the craziest and saddest countries. That's always been the thing, but that would be the nurture argument. That would be, we got a lot of black people playing NBA basketball because of that reason, which is nurture. But what about nature? What about, I don't know, France is like cranking out some amazing basketball players, and they all seem to be from North Africa. Now, was that racist or was that curious? Because I'm under the impression that for something to be racist, it has to somehow project an air of superiority on the speaker's specific race against another person's specific race. I thought that's what racism was, because I don't think that's what I did there at all. I think I just talked about the fact that humans are sometimes different. But I'm a racist. Anyway, the French now dominate basketball. Isn't that great? Let's see what we got here. Oh, and it was Jamie Gertz was all over Jamie Gertz's team. Jamie Gertz. Remember I told you this Jamie Gertz star from Lost Boys? Jamie Gertz, she's now like one of the most powerful people in Hollywood, and also owns two professional teams. The group that she heads, well, her and her husband, but she's the figurehead because she's the glamorous actress. The Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Guardians. Baseball and basketball. Anyway, Jamie Gertz, her team, they got the number 1 pick. They drafted a French guy. Okay, Adam says, no, it's all about the colonization and the EU. Immigration is easy in the EU, and that is why it's going far right. Everybody in the chat room call Adam a racist. I don't know why, just he's talking about race. I think he should be called a racist. Let's keep going. Yeah, we don't need to spend any time on Jamie Gertz. I think I just mentioned that she's the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, and she was on TV yesterday, but never mind. We don't need to see that. How about this one? This is a story. My good friend, Radio Dallas on Twitter. Follow him. He's a good follow. He sent me this. Didn't know about it, but now I do see it. And I didn't know it existed, and I've never in my life utilized it. But now that I know that it's been taken away from me, I am hopping mad. Here's what happened. Paramount erased the entire internet archive of the MTV website. It wiped music, cultural history, interviews, live band performances, wiped it all. Just absolutely destroyed, not destroyed, intentionally just wiped it. MTV.com is gone, ladies and gentlemen. MTV.com is gone. Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you were on MTV.com? How about never? You were never on MTV.com. Neither was I. Didn't even know it was a thing. MTV, who, boy, isn't MTV a funny, I want to see this documentary, or I want to see this movie. MTV is exactly what happens. I always make fun of Sports Illustrated. I always make fun of the guys in the boardroom at Sports Illustrated back around 1998. When a couple of young kids from the mailroom got their attention and said, gentlemen, this historic and iconic magazine needs to jump into the digital age. We here at Sports Illustrated should really start concentrating on the digital distribution. And they laughed at them. Oh, kid, you dumb kid. Get out of here. And that's why Sports Illustrated is no more, okay? Because those old men were drunk on their own success from 1950 through 1985. Let's just do another swimsuit issue. No, they didn't see the future coming. Well, neither did MTV. MTV, and it's really disappointing with MTV because you would think that they would have been on the cusp. They would have been on the forefront, the razor's edge of all digital engagement opportunities because they were the very definition of youth culture in America. That was the business that MTV had cornered, but only for about 10 years, it seems. After about 10 years, that's when, the bankers moved in and the accountants started making all the decisions, and they stopped being so much about being the voice of the modern day youth movement because that would require you to change direction every couple of years. You would have to shift, and when you shift, you're going to lose people who you're now abandoning with as far as how you're targeting your content. So MTV decided not to do that. They decided that instead they were just going to stay with the same audience. And then suddenly that audience didn't watch MTV for 8 hours a day anymore. And MTV couldn't figure, they needed to stay with youth culture, and they didn't. And had they stayed with youth culture, they probably would have been more heavily involved with the internet. Certainly with, a digital presence for MTV instead of just dying a sad, ugly, they're space junk. MTV, which was so important to my generation and also millennials, MTV is now just space junk. And yesterday, Paramount knocked it all down, erased it all. Paramount erases archives of MTV's website, wipes music and culture history of over 30 years. MTV.com is gone, kaput, wiped off the face of the earth. Parent company Paramount, formerly. See, it's not so bad. We never went to MTV.com, but now that we know that that's where all that stuff, well, I guess YouTube, right? I mean, YouTube's going to have stuff. Like what would be a moment from MTV history that I would like to see? I'd be like, well, I'd like to see MTV break the news that Kurt Cobain died. That would be cool. YouTube's got that. I guess I don't need MTV.com. All right, whatever. Anyway, MTV.com is gone, and you never went there, and I never went there, but we are kind of irritated that it's gone, right? Explain that. Can't. It's because we're humans. How about the movie The Apprentice? We've been following this one. The Apprentice, the film that took Cannes by storm. Here, I'll read it to you because we're all very, very excited about seeing this movie. The Apprentice is the Trump movie that details what Trump was like in the 70s and 80s when he was being tutored mentored, if you will, by a guy by the name of Roy Cohn. Sebastian Stan, who is most famous as the Winter Soldier from the Marvel films, Sebastian Stan plays Trump. Roy Cohn, his mentor, remember the film is called The Apprentice, so it's about these two men together. Roy Cohn is played by Kendall from Succession. Jeremy Strong. That's it, Jeremy Strong. Two terrific young actors. Very interesting subject matter. It shows, just the relationship between. Here's the thing, though. I don't think anybody knows. Young people have no idea who Roy Cohn was, and I think even people in Gen X don't know who Roy Cohn is. I think you got to be a boomer to know who Roy Cohn was to go, oh yeah, because nobody seems troubled. That's always been one of the things that has troubled me most about Trump, and why I just personally never took to him. I was like, well, this dude was friends with Roy Cohn. How can you be friends with Roy Cohn? And, anyway, point is, the movie was in danger of being shelved. See, you take a movie to Cannes to find a distribution deal. That's where all of the film distributors come and they watch what you got, and then you sign deals and all that stuff. Now, deals for The Apprentice were being shut down by former Washington Commanders and Redskins owner Daniel Snyder. That's right. Daniel Snyder was shutting down all the meetings because he is a minority investor in it. He gave $5 million to this film. It's a $5 million. And somehow he has the right through that $5 million to cause all kinds of problems, and he has. So the distribution and the release date and all of that stuff as it concerns the Apprentice movie has been up in the air. Some people are like, you'll never see it. It's never going to come out. Well, that's over with. It came out. And by the way, Daniel Snyder, who is a very, very, you got that Martin Shkreli guy. You got that guy. And you got Daniel Snyder. He's one of these guys that's not very well liked within the public court of opinion. He's seen as kind of a dirtbag. And so he was doing this for Trump. He was like, apparently he was doing him a solid. He's like, yeah, I'll block it. I have the ability to block it. So what ended up happening was the other producers of the movie The Apprentice, they just gave him his money back. And now he's going away. That's it. That's all it took. Like he said he was doing, it was like doing it for his guy, like him and Trump are buddies. He was doing it for his guy. And he's like, I'm not gonna let me. And then they gave him his $5 million, his initial investment of $5 million back. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you can come out now. Trump movie, The Apprentice, making its way towards a fall release. It says The Apprentice is coming sooner than you think. Shown in Cannes, the movie, a documentary-style dramatic version of Donald Trump's early days, may finally have found a distributor. I've confirmed that would be indie outfit Briarcliff Entertainment, whose owner, Tom Ortenberg, steered Spotlight to a Best Picture in 2016. His other hits include Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11. The Apprentice is a film directed by Ali Abbasi. I don't know who that is. Is that a new director that I need to be known about? Or is this just somebody who used to direct videos? He did a wonderful Ariana Grande video, and now he's... The Apprentice is a film directed by Ali Abbasi and written by journalist Gabriel Sherman. Sebastian Stan plays Trump in his 30s and 40s. Newly minted Tony Award winner Jeremy Strong, that's Kendall from Succession. Jeremy Strong plays the late monster Roy Cohn. It literally says late monster Roy Cohn. Newly minted Tony Award winner Jeremy Strong is the late monster Roy Cohn, Trump's evil guru who taught him the tricks of the trade. Maria Bakalova, who made such a splash in the Borat sequel, plays Ivana Trump. Now that I'm really excited about. That girl, man. That girl. Did you see? Remember the Borat sequel? Remember the girl who got Rudy Giuliani to do this, pull his pants down or whatever he did? I don't know. That girl. I recently rewatched that movie with my son. And man, that girl, when you see her not playing that character, you realize what a goddamn Meryl Streep level character actress this woman is. This Maria Bakalova, who is playing Ivana, is going to be great. She's an amazing young actress. The there's a long, complicated history of this film's financing, which had so far prevented it from finding a distributor after becoming a sensation in Cannes last month. It involves Dan Snyder, former owner of the Washington Commanders, who invested $5 million thinking the movie would portray Trump in a more positive light. But holding up the release would mean extremely negative PR for Snyder as football season begins, and who needs that? So negotiations have been underway to pay him back. He seems amenable to the idea that The Apprentice hitting theaters this fall. All right, so we will see. All right. I honestly, it's probably all about Trump, but I'm going for the Roy Cohn stuff. I'm going for Kendall as Roy Cohn. That's going to be great. Roy Cohn famously railroaded the Rosenbergs. Look, I know it depends on how you feel about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, but it was Roy Cohn who probably lied, who got him executed. It was Roy Cohn who defended Joe McCarthy, the guy who went nuts and called everybody communist and basically stalled out the government for about 5 years in the 1950s with his absurd blacklist. And yeah, that's who Roy Cohn is. Also, very sketchy relationship with a lot of young boys. Okay, he died of AIDS. He was gay. He was. Everybody knew he was gay, but nobody talked about him being gay, and it was very weird for that to be a thing in the 1970s. Roy Cohn. By the way, not a bad guy for being gay. Probably the coolest thing about Roy Cohn was that he was gay. Probably the coolest thing. Probably dressed good because he probably enjoyed better music than me because of that. But in all the other areas, he was still Roy Cohn. Not a good man. Hey, speaking of former president, how about this? We got him talking about we got a Trump on a hot mic Trump. He's one. I don't need hot mic Trump. I don't need hot mic Trump. Normal Trump is hot mic Trump. That dude is the best and most entertaining political speaker in the history of that. I don't need him on a hot mic. He didn't care. We got him on a hot mic. You think he gives a fuck? He don't care. All right. But anyway, he was just having a nice conversation with somebody, and this is him. This is him talking about Taylor Swift. Okay. Not sure if, half the country seems to have been programmed to absolutely hate this woman for no reason that I can really tell. She seems delightful and really unintrusive in my life. Like, I can pretty much go through life without being, oh, goddamn Taylor Swift again. It's not a problem for me. But for a lot of people, the programmed response when Taylor Swift is brought up is, I fucking hate, oh, God, Taylor Swift. Why? Ignore her. What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, we got a hot mic Trump talking about Taylor Swift. Let's see what he said, shall we? Okay. Hold on. Oh, no, man. Really? Oh, this sucks. It's okay. It's taken from Mediaite. So that means they're probably going to make us watch a commercial. Yeah, they're going to watch us make a stupid commercial. And they're going to let us skip it. That's nice. All right, here we go. All right, this is Trump talking about Taylor Swift. What does Trump really think about Taylor Swift? You want to take bets? Here you go. Let's listen. All right.
What do you think about Taylor Swift? One of the most famous people right now.
Yeah, I think she's beautiful, very beautiful. I find her very beautiful. I think she's liberal. She probably doesn't like Trump, but I hear she's very talented. But I think she's very beautiful, actually. Unusually beautiful.
All right, there you have it.
5 times.
Oh, shut up. Shut up, Aaron Burnett. Oh, people are going nuts. Trump is being inappropriate and talking about Taylor Swift. Okay, here's what Trump was being. He showed his cards. He was being a creepy old man. A little bit, but that's okay. Look at the guy he's running against. Half of Biden's brand is being a creepy old man. So a little bit too much with the beautiful. I get that. Trump's like, she's beautiful. What do you think of Taylor Swift? First of all, she's hot. Also, I understand she's very sexy. Also, the thing about her that I like most, God, she's beautiful. Did I mention that she's beautiful? She's absolute. I mean, it's a little bit. I hear she doesn't like Trump. That's another thing that bothered me. That bothered me. That bothered me more than anything else. It didn't bother me that he's talking about how beautiful she is. You know what? She's beautiful. And just because he's 80 million years old doesn't mean that he stops recognizing what beauty is. Oh, you have to stop acknowledging beauty once you get a certain age because now you're creepy. He's fine. That's fine. He was being complimentary. But I didn't like how he referred to himself in the third person. I didn't like when he went, she doesn't like Trump. Oh. That he's comfortable doing that says more about who he is as a dude to me than anything else. She doesn't like Trump. And yes, I feel the same way about NFL wide receivers and other such nonsense people who do that. Third person? What? She doesn't like Trump. Come on, man. Be a human being. Stop thinking of yourself as the center of the universe, okay? Just say she doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. Okay. That makes you a little bit more relatable. It makes you a little bit less unlikable. She doesn't like Trump. Who wouldn't like Trump? But as far as him being a pervert and a creeper old man, he's not. Shut up, you weirdos. You're being weird and you're just... I hate that. It's not weird. Again, he's 80. She's 15. Now, how old was she? 30? He's 80. She's 30. He's not asking her out on a date. Although if he thought he could get away with it, he probably would. But so would I, because she's Taylor Swift. And she's undeniably beautiful, regardless of the age of the eyes that are seeing her. The age of the eyes that are seeing her. Oh, my God, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. The age of the eyes. It's not creepy. He's fine. That's just the way they talk about it. I'm going to flatter her. I'm going to tell her she's beautiful. I'm going to tell her she's beautiful. What I cut off was the return of that. After Trump is done speaking, it goes back to Erin Burnett. And she's like, he said it 5 times. Said beautiful. 5 times beautiful. Well, she's 5 times beautiful, Erin. Sorry if that upsets your aging ass. You used to be hot, Erin. Erin, you were hot. But guess what, Erin Burnett? You were never as hot as Taylor Swift is now. Taylor Swift's worst day. Taylor Swift looking her worst. She's still better looking than you on your best day. And you're beautiful, Erin. Erin Burnett, you are a Baltimore 9. You are a Baltimore 9. You know, in Baltimore, there's a lot of 9s and stuff because you're close to Washington, and that's where, like, all of the important, powerful people keep their hookers. They keep their hookers in Baltimore. So there's a lot of pretty girls in Baltimore, but still, you're a Baltimore 9. A Baltimore 9 is a Manhattan 7. I think that's fair. Who else do we have here? We talked about the Apprentice movie. We talked about Trump and Taylor. Oh, how about this Kusum Tusum? Huh? Hold on. Hold on, guys. I gotta answer. Something's going on. I got a kid on vacation. Oh. Oh, and look, my guy Eddie even sent me something. Very cool. All right, sorry about that, folks. How about this Kusum Tusum? Okay, so this is. All right, let's break this down. How is it? Because my goodness, what a pairing this is. This is, you want to talk about power couples. You want to talk about the Illuminati marrying off their own. Bill Gates' 21-year-old daughter, Phoebe, is in a relationship with somebody. Bill Gates' 21-year-old daughter, Phoebe, is dating Paul McCartney's grandson, Arthur. We've got a McCartney and Gates teaming. How does that happen? So she's 21, he's 25. McCartney's grandson. What do they look like? Let's see. Is there a picture here? Yeah, let's see. I'll show you a picture of McCartney's grandson. You signed me out, Google? Why? I don't hate Google. That was just frustration. I don't hate Google. Just, Google is like an overprotective mom sometimes. It's like, it's still me. You don't have to sign me out for security reasons. It's still me. I know there's been a lot of activity on this page. All right, let's look at these two. All right, so the Gates, McCartney, twosome. Bill Gates' 21-year-old daughter, Phoebe, confirms that she is dating Paul McCartney's 25-year-old grandson. He's got a 25-year-old grandson. I guess they met at Stanford. They both went to Stanford together. I don't know. Let's look at them. Nonsense. Sorry, this is just, I have to reboot the Google. The Google Drive is just, taking forever. Okay, here we go. Let's see this. See what Paul McCartney's grandson and Bill Gates' daughter look like, huh? Shall we? Think they're hot? Think they're both hot? Bill Gates ain't hot. And who's like Paul McCartney's grandson? Like, so who's his? Does he have like? Well, yeah, that would be Linda, I guess. I don't know who his mom would be. His grandma's Linda. All right, here they are. There they are. All right, here. Man, they look. I'll tell you this: they look like a young power couple. They look like a couple of people who could quietly raise a ruckus if you make them wait for their table at dinner. Like, they could cause some problems for you. There you are. That is Paul McCartney's grandson and his girlfriend, Bill Gates' daughter. All right, I don't see any Bill Gates in there. Like, where did she come from? Like, who's Bill Gates married to? Is he married to a model or something? Because she's kind of, she's pretty. She doesn't, Bill Gates you wouldn't think would have hot daughters, but who knows? I guess it's weird. Fudly dudes have produced hot daughters before, but she seems kind of attractive. He's kind of got the McCartney eyebrow and eyes thing going on. Like it's like, oh yeah, he's a McCartney. Like, you'd have to tell me. Like if you walked him in front of me and you said, who's his famous grandpa? I'd be like, I don't fucking know. What? That's not. But if you came up to me and said, can you tell that Paul McCartney's his grandpa? I'd look at him like, oh yeah, I see that. I see it now. There you have it. Twosome. The Gates and the McCartneys. They'll be selling us air and oxygen in 100 years. Some of their lineage, the Gates-McCartney lineage. Al Michaels has agreed to a deal that nobody can believe Al Michaels agreed to. AI updates. Al Michaels, here's the thing. So there's this new AI thing. I'll give you the exact details. It's NBC Sports. They came to Al Michaels, who's, by the way, you remember Al Michaels, he was under a whole bunch of. Wait a second. Is he with Peacock or was he? I don't know. Never mind. I'm not going to freeball my conversation on Al Michaels, but he was criticized last year for not really being into it on the games. I didn't think he was with NBC anymore, but this story concerns NBC and AI Al Michaels. NBC brings AI Al Michaels to Peacock for customized Paris Olympic recaps. The iconic voice of the sportscaster will give recaps of events for Peacock subscribers, tailored to their interests, generated by artificial intelligence. NBC is bringing Al Michaels back for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Okay, that's what it is. Al Michaels, longtime staple of NBC Sports in the Olympics, left, took a big money job with Amazon to do Amazon Thursday Night Football. So now we've got the Olympics coming. He's absent from NBC, so NBC has figured out a way. He is a staple. Let's use AI Al Michaels. And apparently they were able to do this. Apparently they asked him, and he was down with it. And Amazon, I guess, doesn't have any sort of exclusivity. Well, he's Al Michaels. They wouldn't. Al Michaels, like, you can't tell me I can't do anything else. I'm fucking Al Michaels. I'm famous for a whole bunch of shit, not just for doing Thursday Night Football on Prime. So that's probably why he's able to do it. NBC is bringing Al Michaels back for the 2024 Paris Olympics, or rather, NBC is bringing a version of Al Michaels generated by artificial intelligence to this year's games. The company says that it is turning to generative AI software to recreate the iconic sportscaster's voice, which will provide customized Olympic recaps for Peacock subscribers during the Olympics. Now, here are some of it's going to call you by name. Like AI Al Michaels is going to be like, hey, Byron, Here's what's going on. Like, what is Byron like? Like what would Byron's like? Byron's personalized sports would all be weird. They'd all be telling women's gymnastics, right? Like junior synchronized swimming. Like it'd be words. Hi, Byron. So Al Michaels will like leave you a voicemail or something. It'd be like, hi, Byron. I'm Al Michaels. Here's the latest in the junior synchronized swimming roundup from the Olympic. And that's like what you'll get. Whatever. I don't want it. You got to try a whole bunch of things before you figure out what works. Al Michaels is all for it. He's like, I was skeptical at first, but my God, is that amazing. So what do? They just go through, they just like it's not Al Michaels' actual, it's just a simulate that they're mimicking his voice. Like the AI is mimicking his voice. And I don't know how it works. I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. And I'm too old. I'm too old to think that it's something I should waste my time with. Let other people be smart about that stuff. Is it supposed to rain? It's like gotten really windy all of a sudden. All right, let's continue on. Al Michaels, AI, coming to NBC Sports Olympic coverage. You want to hear a fake Al Michaels say your name? Are you that desperate? Are you that desperate? It's so cool how he says my name. It's Al Michaels saying my name. It's not Al Michaels. Al Michaels never said your name. But it makes me feel good because I have very little in life. That's what it's about. How about this one? Jerry Sandusky. Does that name ring a bell? Well, it should. He's the guy who took down Joe Paterno in Penn State football for about 5 years. And let me tell you, it was only for about 5 years. Penn State football, it was supposed to be devastated. It was like, oh, Penn State football is going to rebound from this for a generation. Nah, they're right back. They were right back. The Nittany Lion, you can't keep that down just because a whole bunch of kids got molested over the course of decades under the watchful eye of your iconic coach Paterno. Jerry Sandusky was the defensive coordinator for Joe Paterno at Penn State for, 20 years. Turned out that he was molesting a bunch of kids at his football camps. Jerry Sandusky had a football camp. Hey, kids. And kids went because if you were a fan in Pennsylvania of, Nittany Lion football, he was a name. Hey, you go to Jerry Sandusky's camp, and then maybe he'll mention you to Joe Paterno, and maybe you could play for the Nittany Lions. It was a big deal. They all do it, but he has, he did it for years. But and a bunch of those kids said that he molested them. Now, it should be noted that we all just went with, yeah, he did it. I mean, like right away, we were all like, yeah, probably did it. I don't even remember the case. Like, was there like really good evidence against him? I don't know. I just assumed he did it. He went to jail. Well, now they're saying, like doctors are saying and shit that he's incapable. He is medically incapable of doing the things that he was accused of doing. And that was never allowed into the testimony back when he was being charged. In a shocking twist in the Jerry Sandusky case, as new medical evidence arises that could have proven the former Penn State coach is innocent, but was left out of trial. Oh, here's what it was. It was left out of trial because he was too embarrassed. Oh, okay. So here's what it is. He apparently has no use of his dick and peenie, or whatever all of that stuff is down there. Apparently it doesn't work. Apparently it hasn't worked in like 40 years. Now, you don't just have to have that kind of, traditional sex to molest a child, but he was specifically accused of, playing in the showers and, certain things, and doctors at the time were like, yeah, we'll testify. There is no sex. He's had sex problems. It's not sex, whatever it is. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And Jerry Sandusky refused to allow that in his defense because he was embarrassed that people might think his dick didn't work. The dude was on trial for molesting children, and he's embarrassed of that. Oh, the human condition. The human condition is so fascinating. Crucial medical evidence that could have cleared former college football player Jerry Sandusky of molesting boys was never presented at his trial because he was embarrassed about it. The disgraced Penn State football legend was unable to perform sexually, according to health records that have surfaced as his case heads towards an appeal. And now a leading physician is stepping forward, claiming that Sandusky's condition does not support the allegations that have been made by his accusers. So like now some high profile doctor who knows all about this stuff is going, hey, look, I just got to say what he's got and what he's being accused of doing, he can't because of what he's got. I don't know. How about that, though? He wouldn't let it into evidence. Jerry, I think we got something that can keep you out of jail for the rest of your life, but it's about how your dick don't work. And he was like, huh? Nope. I could never show my face in a locker room again. Jerry, you're never going to show your face in a locker room. You're going to jail forever for being a monster, the monster of Happy Valley. Sandusky's medical record does not seem to support the accusations. Dr. Robert Oakstone, a physician with decades of experience treating patients with similar conditions, said. In fact, it's quite contradictory. Sandusky, who is 80, is currently serving 30 to 60-year sentence after being found guilty in 2012 of 45 counts of sexual abuse of young boys. He was charged with molesting and raping 10 boys he met at his Second Mile charity over a 15-year period between 1994 and 2009. Let's see. What does this say about his appeal that is still or whatever? In an exclusive prison interview, he said, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Anyway, isn't that weird? I mean, I don't even know if that's true or not. Like, this doctor might be a fraud, but isn't it weird that there was this evidence that could have been entered and it could have added just an air of gray area, a little bit of suspicion to what the charges were in the minds of a jury or whoever, could have done anything to help his case. And he refused to have it. Nope. I'm not going to have anyone in open court on the record saying that I can't get hard. And when I get hard, I like to molest children. That's what I want them to know. What? None of that makes sense. Dude, you're being painted as a sexual monster, and it turns out that you've got something that makes you not a sexual monster, but a sexual hamster. And you won't use that because you're embarrassed, because your ego? What a fucked up guy. I think he did it. The decision to not let that evidence be entered into your defense, that decision is driven by some weird ego thing that's going on with him, where his humiliation, the humiliation for him at being thought to be a guy who can't get hard is greater than the shame felt by him as a guy who molested children. God, that's weird. People are weird. All right, moving on. Jerry Sandusky. How about this one? Gamer Hammer Fight. That's what we're just going to call this one. So this is a great story. So these two dudes were playing a video game online, as kids do these days. I don't know. This is all Greek to me. I don't understand this world. Two kids are playing video games online. They get into a fight, apparently shit talking and stuff like that. One kid's in Florida, one kid's in New Jersey. The kid in New Jersey hangs up, goes to Florida, like books a plane, like, oh yeah, click. And then the dude just gets on a plane, somehow figured out where the other dude lived, went to an Ace Hardware store, bought a hammer. Now let me describe to you what happened, okay? So again, dude in New Jersey and a dude in Florida are having a fight online. They're playing a video game and they're arguing with each other. And the kid in New Jersey decides that he's going to take matters into his own hands, gets a plane ticket, flies down to Florida, Jacksonville or wherever, buys a hammer, and then decides that he's going to. All right, I'm just going to read you the story because, man, I'm telling you, how they came face to face, this is a scene in a movie that I want to see. Edward Kang and the hammer he is accused of using to try and kill another gamer over an online game dispute is pictured above. The 20-year-old gamer from New Jersey is accused of flying nearly 1,000 miles to try and kill another gamer with a hammer because the two had gotten into an online argument while playing video games. Edward Kang was taken into custody in Florida on Sunday and charged with one count of attempted second-degree murder and one count of armed burglary over the violent incident. According to a probate cause affidavit, authorities say that following the spat online, Kang flew from Newark Liberty International Airport to Jacksonville International Airport to assault the victim, whom he had never actually met in person. Deputies with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at about 2 a.m. on June the 23rd, that's Sunday, Saturday night into Sunday morning, 2 a.m. June the 23rd, responded to a home located in the 1300 block of Harrison Point, which is about 160 miles north of Orlando. Upon arriving on the scene, the lead detective said the deputies could see a substantial amount of blood located near the entryway and into the bedroom leading to the right of the doorway. So there's blood all over the house when the cops arrived. Kang and the victim were no longer at the scene. So the attacker, Kang from New Jersey, and the victim who got hit with a hammer, they're not there. They're gone. But the cops are walking in for the first time. Kang and the victim were no longer at the scene, but the detective spoke to the victim's stepdad, who said that he had been awakened by the sounds of his stepson screaming for help. Once the stepfather approached the victim, he observed him lying face down on the ground and noticed that the victim was lying on top of another individual who was in a position with a hammer, blah, 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 blah. So basically, here's what happened. The dude Kang, okay, from New Jersey, gets a hammer, shows up at the house. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, the kid that he was arguing with online is online playing games. He's online in his room playing games. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Kang walks right into the house. Apparently, it wasn't locked. Dad says house wasn't locked because it's Florida and it's a gated community. Well, if it's a gated community, how did Kang get in? Anyway, they leave the doors unlocked. A lot of people in gated communities do that. Kang walks right in. 2 o'clock in the morning, he can hear from the bedroom. You probably see the blue light flickering underneath the door. He knows which room is this asshole that he just got into the fight with online. So he stands there outside the door. Apparently, the gamer kid had to go to the bathroom, as gamer kids sometimes do during these marathon sessions. Some pee in Mountain Dew bottles. Others actually use the bathroom like a human. This kid gets up from his game, opens his door, and Kang is standing there with a hammer in the dark and starts attacking him with the hammer. Now, here's where it turned bad for Kang. And this is a problem with online tough guys. You never know who you're going against. Apparently, the dude who got hit with the hammer, not Kang. Kang's the crazy person from New Jersey with the hammer. Apparently, Kang got his ass kicked. At that point, even though Kang had a hammer and bashed the kid in the head with the hammer, the kid was still a much better fighter than Kang. And basically, that's when the stepfather came out. The stepfather found Kang on the ground, the dude bleeding from the head on top, controlling the situation, and then the police came and arrested him. The victim stated that he was playing an online game, and while playing this game, he went to use the bathroom and walked towards the doorway of the room. Upon opening the door, the document states, he opened the door and noticed a person standing in the dark with a hammer raised. No way! Imagine that. How many times, even if you just, okay, so we don't play games, but I watch movies. Like, imagine I'm just laying in bed late at night watching a movie, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I get up and I open the door of the bathroom, and there's just a dude with a hammer. Holy fuck. That is amazing. What else do we have about this? The two allegedly struggled briefly with the victim managing to get the hammer away from Kang and control him on the ground, as Kang then began screaming for help. So Kang flew there with the hammer, attacked the dude when he took a potty break, got his ass handed to him, got one lick in with the hammer because the kid had a hammer gash in his head. So he gets one lick in with the hammer and then immediately gets the hammer taken away from him and gets the shit kicked out of him. That's how it's supposed to go down. In my fantasy of having an intruder in the house, that's how it goes down. One of the first responders at the scene told the lead detective that after they placed Kang under arrest, the victim and the stepfather asked Kang, "Why did you do this?" Kang allegedly replied, "Because you're a bad person online." There you go. Online hammer fight. People with money. He's got money. That's money. Do you know who couldn't just book a flight right now to Jacksonville and buy a hammer? Me. I couldn't do that. The stupid Kang kid could. Don't know where he got that kind of disposable income. Matthew Perry is also in the news. Matthew Perry is making news today. Did you hear he died? Of course he died. Did you know that the Matthew Perry case very slowly is morphing into something much more? That's right. We move on. The great unwashed. We learned that Chandler Bing from Friends dies, and we sad. We watch a 2020 special on it. We talk about it amongst our friends. And then within 3 weeks, it's like, oh, yeah, he did die, didn't he? We forget. But in that time, you got the authorities. They've been working. They're looking at this. They're investigating this. We should. I feel. I mentioned this yesterday. I feel betrayed by Matthew Perry. He got a lot of mileage. He got a lot of good faith mileage out of going around for about 20 years, being a guy who kicked being an addict, encouraging others, and this is how you do it. And I understand that that's the insidious nature of addiction, where otherwise good people get turned into these con men so easily. But I don't know. It turns out that he was never clean. Like, it wasn't even like, oh, he fell off the way. No, he learned how to play the game. He learned how to play the system. He learned how to play the Hollywood rehab game. So he died. He died in his hot tub. But now the police, they've been poking around. They're looking at people. They're looking at people who might be accomplices, people who they can now charge for the death of Matthew Perry, much in the same way that Kathy, I can't think of her name now, but Kathy somebody was charged in the death of John Belushi. Charlie Sheen's ex, Brooke Mueller, has now been questioned by police multiple times. Charlie Sheen's ex, Brooke Mueller, is being quizzed by cops over Matthew Perry ketamine death as investigators say multiple people may be charged. I don't know who Brooke Mueller is. I do know her name in association with Charlie Sheen. I do know that she was but I don't know, is she an actress? Like, I know Denise Richards, that she was married to Charlie Sheen, but she's an actress. I don't know who Brooke Mueller, Playboy Playmate. Wait, is that what she, what is she? I don't know what she is. Brooke Mueller is being questioned in relation to the Matthew Perry death. Charlie Sheen's former wife, Brooke Mueller, has been interviewed multiple times by LAPD in relation to Matthew Perry's death after the pair reportedly bonded during stays in rehab. Mueller was never arrested or handcuffed regarding the inquiries, with sources telling In Touch magazine that she has been cooperating with the criminal investigation. She's hired lawyers and has had multiple meetings. But anyway, I don't know. They're going to charge people in Matthew Perry's death? Looks like it. To be continued. Developing ... We shall see. How about this? I could show you this. The other day I told you a story. I've got a checkered past. I've been in a lot of stupid fights with people. I've fought security on a number of occasions. I've been extricated from a couple of places performatively. I'm not a troublemaker. I'm not a terrorist. Back in the day when you could, I couldn't do half the stuff that I did in the 90s on the radio. I'd now be a terrorist. I'd now be shot. Anyway, I told the story about how I beat up Puck from the Real World once. You guys remember Puck from the Real World San Francisco? He was like the punk rock guy, and his whole job was to just be a complete asshole. He was just a really probably unlikable person in the history of MTV is Puck. And I told you about the story just a couple of weeks ago about how I beat him up once because he was doing another radio show, and the radio host on the other radio show decided it would be funny if they crashed our show. I was a producer at this time. It wasn't my show. My host was in the studio, and we sort of spied that they were planning something, and somebody called us. Somebody called us on our hotline and said that, hey, Mancow is going to send Puck, because they were talking about it on their radio show. So then somebody called us, and so we were frosty. We were waiting for it. And here comes the door, opens the Mancow studio, and out comes Puck. And Puck looks at us, and we're standing in front of the door. Like, me, I say we. It was just me, but it was also my friend Doc was there. I'm standing in front of the studio door, making sure that nobody goes in the studio. And Puck just looks at me, and he goes, I'm going in the studio, my man. And I go, no, you're not. And then Doc is like, no, you're not. And he's like, yeah, I am. And then somebody from Mancow's studio goes, just charge him. So Puck charged me. I whipped his ass. Long story short, I ragdolled him. He was like a 90-pound junkie. It was like, seriously, I wanted to take a shower after having to drag his ass down a hallway for about 50 yards and then toss his ass out in the elevator bay. But anyway, that was my story. So I beat up Puck. So I've often wondered whatever happened to Puck. Like, well, what's going on with this guy? Well, he went viral yesterday because apparently Puck is still an asshole. Check this out. This is Puck at a bar. Now, we're going to watch it. I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going on here. We'll watch it once first. Well, actually, no, I'll tell you this. Okay, so here's the deal. Puck is at some bar. This looks to be a hotel bar. And he seems to be harassing the bartender. And he seems to be like getting real confrontational with her to the point that a number of guys who seem to work at this place have to now start monitoring Puck's behavior. This is Puck from the real world, a guy whose ass I kicked 30 years ago. Here's Puck from the real world behaving like, well, Puck from the real world in 2024.
I won't. It'll be 911.
I don't give a fuck. I talk to cops all day. Hey, let's talk about this right now.
What's up?
You, that's what's up. Your customer service gets a minus for me. I try to talk to you, you say nothing to me. You act like I don't exist. If you disrespected me greatly. Why do you do that? Do you think that you're prideful or what? Are you better than me or something? What's going on?
Okay, I don't know if you can hear what's going on, but what he is saying to the bartender is he's complaining that her customer service is terrible because it seems to me that he is flirting with her. He is trying to hit on her. He also seems to be very drunk, and she is not paying attention to him. She is not responding to any of his flirtatious, do you ever see the real world? Whatever it is his game could possibly be. She's not been responding. So now he's calling her on the carpet. And he's angry. He's like, your customer service is terrible. I'm talking to you and you won't talk to me. What do you think? You're better than me? Now his insecurities are beginning to boil over and he's drunk. And when you're drunk, you have less control of your emotions. And insecurity is a powerful beast of an emotion. And right now, the insecurity of him being Puck, essentially a joke of a human being, his insecurities are bubbling over. And now he's getting violent because that's typically how these nights end with Puck in the back of a police car on your way to the police station. I don't know if that happened here, but he almost got his ass whipped. So let's keep watching. Remember now, he has apparently been flirting with this bartender the entire time, and she has been ignoring him, and now he is angry that she is ignoring him, and he's starting to talk about why she's ignoring him, and he's feeling sorry for himself, and he's turning into a complete scary, sad human. Here we go.
Your customer service gets a minus for me. I try to talk to you, you say nothing to me. You act like I don't exist. If you disrespected me greatly. Why do you do that? Do you think that you're prideful or what? Are you better than me or something? What's going on?
No, I have multiple tables and a bar to take care of.
That sounds made up. You are sitting here doing this. I say kind words to you. You say nothing back to me. Why?
Because
You think I'm a drug dealer and an asshole and a crick cocksucker or what?
no.
What is it then?
I will ask you.
I am. You back off, you muscle man.
Well, if you don't believe me, something
Prove it.
well, I won't. It'll be 911.
I don't give a fuck. I talk to cops all day.
Okay, I'm calling.
Fuck you already. Save your goddamn call. Little bitch, treat me right or else. I ain't getting disrespect by a little fuck bitch like you. Little hoe. Fucking acting up like that. Fuck you, man. What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Fucking be humble and gentle, dummy. God damn it. Don't fuck off. I don't give a fuck. Ugh.
And there we have it. Puck from the real world 30 years later. What was marketable on MTV in 1994 as being the rebellious youth, that doesn't look so good at 50, does it? I mean, wouldn't have been cool if like Puck at this age, now we knew him as like, David Puck. I think his name was David Wells. Because remember I told you I got a cease and desist from his agent or something after I beat him up. David Puck Wells now, makes the Fortune 400. Like, what if he Byron Allen that shit? Like, Byron Allen was a guy who was a really lame comedian back in the 70s and 80s who now owns half of Hollywood. And that's really impressive because you're like, Byron Allen had no talent. And now he's like one of the most powerful people in all of Hollywood. What if Puck had that? Like, what if Puck was like, Puck from the real world, San Francisco is now running banks? Really? Or something like that, something, whatever. But no, that didn't happen. Puck's doing the same thing. Still a jerk. Still trying to, be. All right, moving on. What else do we have? Oh, here's another one I got for you. Here. Actually, we're going to end on this one. This is going to be the last one we're going to do today. But I want to show you this because, I talk a lot about how life is precious. Life is fleeting. We don't understand. We lie to ourselves. We pretend. We coddle ourselves in pretending that we understand stuff that's happening. But, still you can step out your front door and a bubble in your brain can burst and then suddenly you're dead. Or, in any moment next week, suddenly science can go, hey, there's a giant rock heading towards us. Look, it's fleeting. Life is fleeting. We don't understand any of this shit. I got some video of some other stuff that I don't understand. I don't know how this happens. And it happens to come, this is some video I'm going to show you. This comes from my son's mom's hometown. Okay. This is my son's mom. This is my son. My son plays in this. My son goes to this place a lot and plays on the fields and does all this stuff. Anyway, this video comes from a place where my son is very familiar with. He's got a grandma that lives there. His mother was raised there. It's Alton, Illinois. Now, Alton, Illinois, you have to understand, is in it's just outside of St. Louis. It's on the Mississippi River, just across from St. Louis. It is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it is just a beautiful, beautiful part of the country that people are like, I had no idea this was here. I mean, the Mississippi River Valley Basin down in that area, especially just south of St. Louis, is gorgeous. It's known as Little Egypt because it's very similar to the floodplains that are created with the Nile River in Egypt. So a lot of the topography and a lot of the, it's very similar to Egypt. So it's called Little Egypt. But the ground seems very soggy. It's very swampy. Isn't it? It's the Ohio. It's the Ohio and the Missouri. Or no, I'm sorry, the Ohio and the Mississippi. It's right there at the bottom of Illinois. Creates the very bottom of Illinois. It's where the Ohio and the Missouri River, they conjoin. They cross paths, whatever. A lot of weird stuff in that area. We got the Mayan, like the Mayan, not Mayans. What are they? The Cahoga mounds, ancient mounds. There are giant pyramids in Illinois. People don't know that. Yeah, they're down in this area, this weird, forgotten, mysterious part of America. We've got, like, the oldest thing in America is in southern Illinois. Are these pre-Columbian pyramids that were built by this civilization in this area. Anyway, it's cool, but it's weird and it's mysterious. And it happens to be where my son's mom is from, my ex-wife. And it's a place I've been to a bunch of times. It's a wonderful place. But look at this. Check this out. Life comes at you fast. How does this happen? This is a soccer field. This is a sports complex. Look, Alton, Illinois is a very nice suburb. It's on the outskirts. It's across the river from St. Louis, separated from all the scary stuff, but still has like the beautiful views of the arches and downtown. But, it's a nice, it's a nice suburb. So it's got nice things like giant athletic fields that the township puts out. We've all seen these. So that's what this is. This is an athletic field that at any given day, any given Saturday is probably filled with 5,000 kids. Watch this. And this just happened yesterday. On an athletic field. We don't understand anything. All right, this is a sinkhole. Watch this sinkhole in Alton, Illinois at these public athletic fields. All right, now that's the aftermath. They should have just showed us from the beginning. Here it is. All right, there it is. There's the field. Do you see that? If this was Saturday in October at like 1:00 in the afternoon, there would be thousands of dead kids. Watch this. The ground just opened up. The ground just opened up and swallowed the field above. Holy crap. What? We don't know anything. We don't know. I'm telling you, man, I see these things. I'm seriously afraid of sinkholes. I once heard a story about a construction worker in Florida. I didn't just hear the story. I reported it. I remember it was a news story that we did on the radio show. A guy came home from work. He was a construction worker. He took off his boots and his jacket, walked into the bedroom, and he did a belly flop into his bed. He just went, I'm exhausted, and belly flopped into his bed. That caused a sinkhole to open up underneath the house. He's dead. Everybody else in the house, they're dead. But it was because of the belly flop. They blew the belly flop. That's a true story. But look at this. This shit scares the fuck out of me, man. We don't know anything. We just walk around assuming that this can't happen. And then guess what? It does. Every time we get on an airplane, we're like, there's no way they could lose this plane. And then an entire Malaysian airliner goes missing. And all of us are like, wait a second. How do you lose an airplane in 2020 or whatever that was, 2017? Don't we track it? Yeah. Like, I always say that about the Malaysian airplane situation, the one that disappeared. I always say that the day before that happened, there isn't an aviation expert in the world who would have been like, oh, it's actually, sure, you can lose a plane. No, every aviation expert in the world the day before that happened would have been like, it's impossible. We track it with a bunch of satellites. You know how many satellites we have up there? Everybody's got cell phones. It is absolutely impossible for us to lose an airplane. And then the next day, they lost an airplane, and we were all wrong. Also, here's another part of that I often think about. I think it's easier to kill people than we are. We're like, not that I want to. I don't want to kill anybody. You know me. I would never kill anybody. But I think it's easier to kill people than we actually think. I think that there's a lot of people who aren't out there murdering people because they've been watching 30 years of CSI. I think CSI has done a great service to the American citizen. CSI has basically convinced us that you can't get away with anything. So I think there's a lot of people that don't do stuff. But I think you can get away with murder still. I think DNA is overrated. Still just a theory. I'm certain of that. All right, we're going to stop sharing. But that was like you were listening to the radio and watching a sinkhole for 10 minutes. Did you talk about Alton recently? I was looking at that town for some reason a couple of months ago, Rob Barr says. No, I mentioned Alton from time to time. I don't think I had reason to mention it recently, unless there was something about them, the Madrid fault line, which is like the most serious fault line in the entire continental United States, just happens to run right through Alton, Illinois. A lot of weird stuff down there. New Madrid. What did I call it? Madras? It's the New Madrid fault line. The little thing. The last time that thing did a little shake, something called the Mississippi River was formed. So, that fault line is still there. And if it does that little shake again, I'm telling you, St. Louis, Chicago, Memphis, oh my God. A lot of cities going to be toppled if that thing ever decides to go. All right. New Madrid. Tired of everybody talking about San Francisco and Northern California earthquakes, or Southern California, whatever. No, I wasn't talking. I sometimes on the anniversary of either Miles Davis or Lovejoy or something. Because there are reasons that I might mention Alton, but I don't think I did specifically recently. It's really pretty though. It's really pretty. The cliffs are so pretty. I mean, it's just like a town. It's like a town, but it's like a normal suburb, but they got a mall and all that kind of stuff and houses and subdivisions. It's normal. But then also there's like a whole part of it that's just, my backyard is the Mississippi River. And that's really cool. Because there's cliffs and there's cliff drawings and you can jump off the cliffs into the river. And oh my God, it just seems like such a fun. Well, I know I was married to someone who grew up there. So I do know that it was a fun place to grow up because it sounds cool. But it is a very cool part of America. That whole section of extreme southern Illinois is such a weird, forgotten part. You want to get your mind blown. Go to Google Maps and just check out this town called Cairo, Illinois. It's literally a town that's like a river. It's Illinois. It's the very last thing in Illinois, but it was a major strategic point during the Civil War. And after that, they tried to develop it into a city because it's got a really cool, interesting location. It's like in the middle of the Mississippi and the Ohio rivers. And now it's completely abandoned. And every time that I drive back, and I've done this 4 times now, but I drive back between Dallas and up to Chicago. I go through that way, and always right when I cross over into Illinois, right when I cross over the Mississippi River, I make that right turn, and I make sure that I drive through Cairo, Illinois, because that is a cool, creepy American historical town. Incredibly important to the Underground Railroad, Cairo, Illinois, and it's just completely abandoned. It's like a town. It's like if everybody just disappeared. Anyway, it's a cool, that whole area down there, Little Egypt, that part of Southern Illinois. It's also why the Southern Illinois University mascot is the Saluki. Yeah, Saluki is an Egyptian tomb dog. And it's also why that town is called Cairo. And there's also a town called Thebes. And there's a town, all of those places, Athens, all of those places, any ancient town, there's a town in Southern Illinois that is named for it. But they also have sinkholes, apparently, that swallow up the public soccer fields. Seriously. I mean, that field would have been crowded with kids on a normal Saturday day. Thankfully, it wasn't. It opened up. It looked like there was absolutely nobody on the field. It just took out a light pole, swallowed that up. Okay, I think that's it, guys. I think we are out of stuff for today, which is good. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that I wanted to mention? Nope, that's it. If you want to tip the show, you want to help us out, that's how this show runs. It's how it has run for the past 3 years. Drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App. I sure would appreciate that. Every little bit helps. I don't know how we're going to do our monthly hard push for help us out, because the 4th of July weekend falls right in the middle of that, and that could cripple the show. This show could end up being crippled because of where the 4th of July falls this year. That's how tenuous it is. So if you want to drop a little something and help us out, please do. Get us as far downstream as we can be before we have to really start tightening the screws and helping people or begging people for money. That's that with that. I love you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. Debate night. Am I going to do a... no, I'm not. I'm not going to do a debate stream. I want to watch this debate. And you know what? That's what you should be doing. Just watch it. Is it going to happen? I say no. Stay tuned. See you tomorrow. Bye. All right, hold on. Wait a second. Who's Jenna just popping in as I'm signing off? I feel bad. I feel like now I need to do some more time for Jenna. Jenna says, what's up, all? Road tripping to Chicago this weekend for the 4th. Then check out Cairo, Illinois. I mean, it's not going to blow your mind or anything, but it is kind of a cool place, especially if you read the Wikipedia page before you drive through it. All right, that's it. Sorry you're late to the party, Jenna. Okay, bye, everybody. Have fun.